Are you working hard to get in the best shape of your life? Well, your prayers have been listened. In today's episode, I'm going to share an absolute beauty of an upper body workout for all of you bodyweight freaks out there. Disclaimer. Please bear in mind that this workout is a general and non-specific example. With all due respects, I wasn't thinking about you when I came up with it. I don't know your circumstances, preferences, goals, training experience, etc., etc. This means that you might have to modify certain things to create a version that suits you better. But despite all that, I'm 100% sure that anyone getting into resistance training and calisthenics could gain insightful gems if you sit back and pay attention to the framework, programming, and principles behind this workout. And lastly, let me just say that if you're still in the process of building a strength base as a beginner, I would highly recommend for you to look for easier regressions to scale back today's exercises in order to match your strength level. A good place to start would be the multiple videos I've already published on my channel where I discussed in great detail key regressions of the calisthenics staples. Alright, let's rock and roll! The best way to make up for a limited amount of weight during a workout, like when you train outdoors, is by increasing the total volume of work. That's your best bet to ensure a potent hypertrophic stimulus post-training. With that said, I strapped 5 kg to a belt and then I proceed to kick off this workout with weighted pull-ups. My words can't express how much I like this exercise. Perhaps it has to do with the fact that pull-ups bring me closer to my ancestral ape-like nature at a subconscious level, but man, let me tell you, pull-ups are the truth. You want a strong upper back and lats? Shut up and pull up. That's my final answer. About half a minute after finishing the set of pull-ups, I move on to the other main exercise of this section in the workout, ring pike push-ups. This exercise selection actually exemplifies what I've been preaching on my channel for years. Agonist-antagonist supersets are an excellent tool to accumulate tons of high-quality work without compromising performance to a larger degree. When muscular fatigue is the goal in itself, or said differently, when the priority number one in your training is muscle growth, supersets of compound lifts that overload opposing movement patterns taken to or close to muscular failure are indeed a powerful and time-efficient weapon to have in your arsenal. Aside from the core muscles of the midsection, pretty much all the musculature in the upper body is going to get trained with these two bodyweight staples. The first movement is the best vertical pull exercise in existence. The version you see on the screen is performed with a pronated grip. That is a regular pull-up. Here, you'd be targeting the whole scapular complex, rear delts, and latissimus dorsi for the back, and the elbow flexors in the arms, especially the brachioradialis. As for pike push-ups, we're talking about the front deltoids, the clavicular head of the pectoralis, also known as upper chest, as well as the triceps. By combining these opposing movement patterns, you're making all the muscle groups around several joints work really hard in the same workout. These two exercises, weighted pull-ups and ring pike push-ups, are my superset opener for the session. And given that this workout is skewed towards moderate intensities due to a very limited overloading potential, then I will perform 4 supersets in total. Similar to another calisthenics upper body workout I featured a while ago, I am using a decreasing RIR approach for the first block of my workout. My goal is to hit an X number of pull-ups and pike push-ups in each set. As muscular fatigue increases, the number of reps in reserve is going to automatically decrease in subsequent sets, thus intensifying the effort level required to reach my goal. Put it differently, I will have to work harder to complete 8 pull-ups in the 4th set than in the first one. As you're about to see, this rather measured and conservative approach only applies to the first superset. A decreasing RIR method is a great tool to pace yourself throughout a session, but it only makes sense in the context of a long workout with a very high volume demand. Please keep that in mind. Once I complete the prescribed opener superset, the degree of restraint moving forward is going to be non-existent. The next section of this workout consists of yet another superset of 2 compound exercises. As I said in the past, I'm a huge proponent of the old school time-tested basics because I believe these are going to yield the best results on your physique and strength at the start of your journey. The first lift here is a weighted dip on parallel bars. I put all the weight I brought inside a backpack and get to work. Once I'm done, I flip it to the front side of my body and move on to the second lift, weighted inverted ring rows. Both these exercises are going to do a fantastic job in punishing the primary muscle movers of the two previous lifts even further. The dips are going to bias the triceps, the front delts, and the lower muscle fibers of the chest, whereas the inverted rows are going to challenge the same main muscles of a pull-up, but in a more horizontal line of action. From a muscle building perspective, pike push-ups and the dip complement each other very well in the context of this workout. On the one hand, the dip is meant to fill some of the glaring deficiencies presented by the first pressing movement. Pike push-ups are not the easiest exercise to add extra weight on due to the body angle you are forced into. However, the dip, like the pull-up, have the trainee's body aligned with the direction of gravity, which in turn allows for endless overloading potential. A belt might be slightly better to add weight to the dip, but given that weighted inverted rows come right after, a sturdy backpack is the winner here for practical reasons. On the other hand, doing pike push-ups in the first superset makes the weight I have at my disposal much more relevant for the dips afterwards. Had I programmed weighted dips within the first superset, I could have done more than 12 reps for sure. There's nothing wrong with that, of course, but given that I could do more weighted dips than ring pike push-ups with just my body weight, I'm just gonna put the harder exercise first. Additionally, the muscular fatigue that results from the first 4 sets of pike push-ups is going to cap the amount of weighted dips I could perform to just 10. Except for the first set of dips where I'm still trying to gauge my RPE, the second and third sets are going to display an effort level equivalent to 0 reps in reserve. There is a major deceleration in the last repetition, punctuated by clear shakiness and an extremely hard lockout at the elbow joint. In the context of a calisthenics training session with a bias towards hypertrophy, inverted rows are the perfect follow-up to pull-ups. They are an effective and beginner-friendly tool to provide further stimulatory fatigue to the upper back complex, rear deltoids, and lats. Perform a couple of low rep sets of any pull-up regression at the start of a workout, and then spam the living crap out of your back with inverted rows to get a decent chunk of pulling volume throughout the remainder of the session. This is the approach I personally recommend to my clients who can't do pull-ups yet. I actually unpack this whole topic in great length in the video popping up on the screen right now. On another note, I would encourage those of you who are currently above the beginner phase to try the high effort method for inverted rows I employed in this workout. Complete as many full range of motion repetitions as you can, and then proceed to do ever shorter partials until you can get the rings past the backpack you wear in front of you. It's gonna be go time! Unlike the two previous parts, now I program another superset, but this time around it is made up of 2 isolation exercises. Biomechanically speaking, I haven't deviated from the agonist-antagonist approach I've implemented previously. I'm still training opposing muscle functions here. The ring French press overloads elbow extensions, whereas ring curls strengthens elbow flexion. Even though my arms have been engaged in some capacity in all of the compound lifts I've done up to this point, I now get to target the triceps and biceps more specifically. If better aesthetics is something you're interested in, please don't neglect small muscle groups. Most people will not get away with a compound-only approach to grow their biceps and triceps effectively. Speaking from my personal experience, I've done a complete 180 on isolation work ever since 2021, and now I'm taking this part of my workouts much more seriously. I know it's only been less than 2 years, but this mindset reset is starting to pay off. If you're interested in learning more on how to isolate specific muscles with gymnastic rings, I'd highly recommend watching this video later on. As you can see in the clips I'm showing you here, I use a slightly higher rep number for both tricep extensions and curls. Not that this is somehow better, but I usually go for more moderate intensities when it comes to single joint movements due to personal preference and past injuries. As far as the latest studies go, a highly hypertrophic response could be achieved through a wide spectrum of repetition ranges, provided the sets are taken close or to muscular failure, which in the particular case of this superset, I make sure to push the envelope in each exercise. I don't want to watch these videos later on and think, man, could have done one more rep here or there. Nah, balls to the wall, period. Similar to what I did for my arms, now I'm going to isolate other body parts I deem important. Given that the largest and most fatiguing part of the workout has been completed by now, it's time to turn to other smaller movements to fully exhaust the pectoralis, as well as the rear side of my shoulders alongside the upper back region. I'm accomplishing all this through partial pectoralis flies and ring reverse flies. Yes, in theory, I could have done the first exercise with rings, but I actually prefer the setup with bars whenever I want to focus on the stretch of the chest. By spending all of my time in the bottom third of the fly, I force my pectoralis to stay engaged in its most lengthened position. And in case you haven't noticed, this is another agonist-antagonist superset. Among other functions, the chest is responsible for shoulder horizontal adduction, whereas the posterior deltoid, alongside the traps, rhomboids, and other smaller muscles supporting the scapula, do in fact perform shoulder horizontal abduction. Yes, these muscles have worked synergistically with the lats and arms during compound lifts, but it is rarely the case that you fully exhaust those during pull-ups and rows. So, in order to ensure that sufficient muscular fatigue is achieved in this particular region, we need to concentrate the tension here. I get the lats and arms out of the way to allow the before-mentioned muscles do their thing. As far as aesthetics are concerned, rear delt work helps you achieve a more rounded, fully developed 3D delts. But from a healthy and injury reduction point of view, this type of isolation work also bulletproofs your shoulders and helps you maintain a more upright posture. In both cases, I'm taking each exercise to muscular failure, but I even go as far as to implement a high-effort technique for the second movement. Not only do I push a set to the point where I can no longer overcome the resistance in the concentric portion, but I strategically reintroduce both the arms and lats to roll my way up to the top position, and once I get there, I perform the eccentric phase of the reverse fly. In other words, I go past concentric failure to keep working in the part of the rep where I'm only required to yield to the resistance. Finally, I'll give you a summary of this upper body workout. As fatigue increases over the course of the training session, multi-joint lifts should gradually give way to movements where less muscle mass is engaged. In other words, exercise selection is a key factor to keep in mind when you program a similar type of workout where the primary goal is muscle growth. I really hope you found a ton of value in this video. If you did, check out this other episode coming up on the screen right now. I think you're gonna like it. Please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to choose all when you click on the bell to get notified every time a new video goes live. Stay fit, stay strong, help me raise an army of Super Saiyans all around the world. Peace.